The grassy fields of Ashfeld were like a great green sea. With each subtle brush of the wind, the grass would ripple and flow as though it were a wave upon the open water. This same breeze was warm and welcome to Lord Tian Long, as he sat upon the small wooden seat left for him. He held a bowl of tea in his left hand as his right rested on his knee. His back was straight, his shoulders squared. One might see the blue dragon sitting and think he was tense or on edge, but that was not the case. Indeed, even in his old age, the great Lord Tian would never show feebleness, weakness, or fatigue. He would carry himself with the austerity he always has, especially in times such as these. He inhaled softly, lifting his right hand to stroke his long white beard and closing his eyes in thought. So much weight upon his mind of late. Too much. These many fears and concerns were heavy upon his shoulders, and he had many lives resting upon his actions. "Lord Tian," a soft voice spoke. Tian Long turned his head just enough to glance at the woman who approached and knelt before him. She was adorned in her purple and black armor, her hair tied in two small buns, but with a single braid running down to her back. Her eyes, though dark like opals, were burning with a fire, like coals. She bowed her head low before raising it again to speak. "Forgive my intrusion." "You intrude on nothing but the passing meditations of an old fool," Tian Long sighed. "You interrupt nothing, Xiaolin." She was Lin Meihua. He called her Xiaolin as a teasing pet name, and he knew it irked her slightly, but she would never contradict him, which irked him as well. She had come into his service with devotion and with absolute zealous loyalty. She acted as his quiet assassin and spy, gathering information and silencing those who threatened his people, even when he didn't ask her to. She was intent on doing to him what so many others wanted: make him the Wulin's emperor. How many of his allies and comrades had spoken to him at length about this proposition? Tian Long, the Blue Dragon, the Wulin's emperor. The thought was nigh unthinkable, and yet he was starting to consider it all the same. The fate of the Wulin was in jeopardy. He knew the precarious situation, and the need for a new emperor was growing, especially knowing how close General Zhe was to acquiring the title. But there was a reason he hesitated to act. A reason that he would make clear when the time was right. "I report that you have a visitor. He arrives unarmed and without entourage," Lin said softly. Chen looked at her curiously now. "Who is he?" "The Jade Dragon, my lord," she answered. There were whispers all about the Blue Dragon camp as soldiers and civilians alike whispered about the guest who had arrived. It was Prince Yi himself, the Jade Dragon, and only survivor of the three glorious trio. Though a weaker warrior than his brothers, Yi was no less legendary for his oratory skills, his philosophies, and his tactical mind. He was an expert at analyzing a situation and reading the circumstances around him. He wore his iron pagoda armor that he was famous for, and though he would normally have his Dao sword on hand, today he was not armed. All he had brought with him were two Zhanhu guards who waited outside the camp silently and respectfully. No army, no legion of soldiers, no banner to even announce his coming. Indeed, he may as well have been a vagabond on the road. He now sat with their leader, Tian Long, upon the hill looking out with each other at the fields of grass that had been gazing at before the arrival of Yi. If Lord Tian had been upset at the arrival of this young prince, he did not show it. He responded with the same stoicism that he was famous for. However, he had ordered all attendants and servants to leave him with his guest and not to disturb him until their meeting was done. Now all wondered what these two dragons were discussing privately. "Lord Tian Long, great blue dragon of Gao Lei's armies," he began, bowing his head. "It has been far too long." "Prince Yi, the Jade Dragon, I understand is your title now?" Tian asked carefully. "A name I did not take for myself," he answered modestly, "but it is a name that rallies my people and comrades. As the saying goes, a name is empty without the actions to fill it. But your actions make me wonder about the legacy of this Jade Dragon. Is he anything worth rallying around?" Tian asked coldly. Yi's face darkened and he turned his gaze away from the old man. "If you speak of my failure at the harbor, I speak of more than that, Yi," Tian answered, his brow furrowing. "You disappoint me, young man." Yi winced and tried to rise a little. "You will not disrespect me, Lord Tian. I am a general as well, and am due the—" "What respect do you think you're owed, you fool?" Tian snapped. Respect is not given by titles, names, or ranks. Respect is earned by your deeds done and how you carry yourself. His hand gestured back to the camp beyond them. I have soldiers of so low rank they're not allowed to look me in the eye. Yet they have earned more respect among my corps than you have in your illustrious titles. Prince Yi again winced. Do not lecture me, Lord Tian. I'm not a boy anymore. Aren't you? Tian asked with a snort. You and your brothers. Always the rabble-rousers, you three. I can still vividly remember the three of you sneaking into the peach orchard to steal from the trees, or when you'd slip out to the garden to practice swordsmanship with sticks when you were supposed to be practicing your calligraphy. We were playing then. We were children, he argued, flushing. And what are you now, then, Yi? A man? Tian demanded. Oh, yes. What a man you've become. Playing at war hero and general to a bunch of ragtag sycophants and chimera zealots. For what, by the way? To what end, Yi? Children play knowing that inevitably the grown-ups will come and put an end to it. But a man must know the end goal. A man knows his actions will have a consequence beyond a reprimand. You have opposed General Zhe. You have turned our people against each other. Jade did that, Yi countered, his anger flaring. Do not speak to me like I'm still that snot-nosed brat I was before. Why do you hold such contempt for me when I am doing what I know to be right? Yes, I know I'm not a proper general. I know that I am the least of my brothers, and I know that I'm most certainly well over my head. But I came here to seek counsel, guidance, and support, and instead you lecture me like I'm still the child you remember me to be. Well, you are still the grizzled old fossil I remember you to be as well. True, I have made poor decisions. Costly ones, I admit. But what have you done? Hide from Zhe? Hide from Gul'jin and the Hatuns? While our people suffer and bleed, where is the great blue dragon? Hiding in Ashfeld and avoiding conflict? Is that your mark of a true man, then? To do nothing in the face of evil? Doing nothing is better than throwing lives away while preaching to them of a better tomorrow. You sacrifice the lives of our people built on false hopes and promises. Very well, and you bleed your people into their graves through cowardice and fear, Yi countered. The two glared furiously at each other after a long moment. But then at last, Tian Qilong, to Yi's surprise, gave a smile. I see you've gained more than a glib tongue since you were a child. Seems you've grown a backbone, Yi. Never thought I'd hear you talk to me like that. Yi didn't share the smile. Were you testing me, you old fool? I just wanted to hear from your own mouth the kind of man you claim to be. Chen sighed, finally slumping his shoulders and reaching for his tea bowl again. Yi, you were always a river reed, bending and swaying at the first sign of a stiff breeze. You had morals and principles, but they caved out of your desperate need to avoid conflict. That is why your brothers were always so hot-headed, why you never rose to a rank of any real repute. You had no backbone, boy. Strong convictions are nothing without the willingness to stand up for them. If you weren't prepared to stand up to me, what hope did you have to stand up to Zhe? Yi's brow darkened and his lip curled. You're as twisted as ever, Uncle Chen. I haven't heard you call me that in a very long time, Chen Qilong snickered. And perhaps you're right. But I've never chastised you or your brothers without reason. No, you don't even brush your beard without some form of lesson or righteous proverb to shove in my face, Yi remarked. All those times you lectured me and Swan and Jin, Yi paused, their names singing his heart as he spoke. Chen's face sank some, and he turned his full body. Yes, I heard about that too, Yi. I am very sorry, he said softly. You know, when your wife died, Uncle Chen, I did not know the pain you must have felt. I now know it. Tell me, does it ever fade? No, Chen answered. You merely learn to accept it as a part of yourself, and then use that pain to improve your own character. The two sat in silence a long time, and then Yi gave a long, low sigh. Zhe marches upon Shang Pass, seeking the Imperial Seal, he finally confessed. It was only a matter of time he attempted that, Chen nodded. But if he gets the seal, he hissed, if he claims the throne of the Wulin, he will unite our people under him. Under Gul'jin. Under our enemies. Qian looked at him darkly. You really think that? Have you learned nothing, boy? Learned what? That seal means nothing, Qian replied. It's a pointless heirloom, a fancy piece of scrap that anyone could flaunt. If Zhe thinks he can win the respect of the Wulin and their allegiance just by obtaining the Imperial seal, he's a bigger fool than I expected. Why do you think Astria didn't take it when she defeated Gao Lei years ago? She knew it existed. She knew it was there. And all the while she left it. If it made even the slightest difference, don't you think the she-wolf herself would have made a move for it? Or what of Guljin, that cantankerous warhawk? If people could be so easily obtained with the Wulin by just claiming a seal, why bother fighting? Why leave it to Zhe if she thought it was at all relevant? All of them know. The seal means nothing. But the seal is the mark of the Emperor. Whoever holds it has the authority of the Emperor's voice, Yi argued. And I told you, respect is not granted by names, titles, or ranks. If titles were all it took to win loyalty, Astria would never have been challenged. Gao Lei would never have feared that I would usurp him, and Zhe would not have betrayed dozens of other Wulin leaders to make his way to Guljin. Loyalty, Yi, is won in blood and deeds. Qian turned to the camp behind them and smiled at it. This corps is loyal to me because I have done all I can to help them prosper. I do not need a seal to be their leader. I do not even need the title of general. I became the Blue Dragon and became these people's leader because they follow me out of their earned loyalty. When Zhe came to me, Zhe came to you, Yi cried. Qian glanced at Yi reproachfully, and Yi sat back down, ashamed of his outburst. Forgive me. I forget myself. Yes, Zhe sought me out hoping I'd ally with him. He, like me, is a general. We share rank. But do you think he respects me any more than I do him? If he gets his hands on that seal, I will not answer his summons. He is not worthy of my devotion, and there are many in the Wulin who feel the same. Yes, and those Wulin are the ones he targets and kills. That's why they come to me day after day, Uncle Qian. They fear and hate Zhe, and they trust me to lead them, somehow. But I'm not sure how. And that is why I come to you. I ask you to join me, Tian Xilong. You are experienced, and you know Zhe well. We could work together, and under your guidance we could... Qian held up his hand dismissively. You don't need me to lead your army, Yi. Running my own is difficult enough, thank you. But you are the Blue Dragon! You are Gao Lei's Ao Qin, a warrior with no equal! Tian shook his head again. There are many in the Wulin who are my better. And there are many in the knights, Vikings, and samurai who are my betters as well. That is the difference between Zhe and myself. Zhe sees the history of the Wulin compared to where it is now, and he feels shame, because he can't comprehend how we fell to the state we are in. He believes that we are the destined people, the chosen empire under heaven to rule. He does not understand the strength or culture of our enemies, and cannot fathom us in the state we now find ourselves. But I have learned, Yi, as you must learn too, that our people have no more right to live than our neighbors. The knights, the Vikings, and the samurai have held these lands for over 1,000 years, and they've learned not only how to appreciate it, but also how to guard it. Did Gao Lei in his arrogance truly think they would fall before us only because heaven willed it so? Yi, if we are to survive, the Wulin cannot do it as conquerors. I am the Blue Dragon who slayed countless foes for Gao Lei, and that is who I was, yes. That is what I had to be. But I am no god of war. I am no pinnacle of martial might. What you see before you, Yi, is just an old man with a guandao. I'm an old dog of war who has grown weary watching his people bleed and die for next to nothing. If that is true, then aid me, Lord Qian. If we can defeat Zhe, if we can stop him, then our people will not bleed for nothing. We can begin to rebuild. We can finally stand as the people you see us as. Do not join me as a war leader. Do not join me as a general, but as my advisor, as my friend. because now more than I have ever felt before, I need a friend. Yi slumped forward, his head in his hands. I feel so alone, Uncle Chen. I am surrounded by soldiers who look to me like I have the answers. And if that wasn't enough, remnants of Chimera join me daily, wanting to offer their aid in stopping Zhe. I cannot refuse them. I have nowhere else to go, and I'm grateful for the support, because we are so few. But every day I second-guess my choices, because every decision I make leads to death. Even in victory, the costs are so high. Every action brings a price that I can't bear to pay. It is becoming too much, Uncle Chen. Too much. Is this the price of leadership? One of many. The two sat quietly again until Yi spoke. In 1 week, I march to Chang Pass to stop Zhe. To get the seal first, if I can. I came to you to beg your support. Yi's voice trailed, and Tian looked out at the grass, its rippling reeds flowing like water again. Can I assume you won't be coming then? Tian Qilong didn't answer at first. Yi looked away, a sorrowful look on his face. Would you be emperor? Tian Qilong finally asked. Would you take the seal and claim the throne? Yi frowned, thought a moment, and then shook his head. I don't know. Perhaps. Some have requested it, and they've even said that I should. It's been the most common advice I've received from my fellow Wulin, but I have no particular desire for it. It's not what I'm hungry for. But if it is what our people need, if an emperor can truly save our people, then I would do it, at least until someone more worthy took it, such as you, Uncle Chen. You would make a glorious emperor. I know you have no desire for it yourself, but I know I'm not fit for it. At least not yet. Yi looked back at the grass as well and then sighed in confusion. He shook his head and then snorted. Emperor. It's that very title that brought us here, isn't it? Gao Lei seeking to be emperor of all of China, only to lead us here to Heathmore. Then his pride as emperor that wouldn't let him stand down when he should have. And now look at us, fighting over a seal that you yourself say is meaningless. Should I even be interested in such an opportunity if it has such an empty meaning to it? Finally, he was interrupted as Chen stood on his feet, groaning and picking up his weapon. You best leave, Prince Yi. Ready your forces at Chang Pass. I will join your forces soon. Prince Yi rose to his feet fast in surprise. You will go? Yes, I will. As will my Dragon Corps. But, Uncle Chen, earlier you said... If you had told me that you would become emperor yourself, if you had declared you would lead the Wulin to greatness and you would stamp out that snake Zhe, then I would have declined outright. Indeed, I might have had you killed before you left. You would have proved yourself no different than the serpent, and I would have had no part in it. He then let his frown break into a small, warm smile. But instead, you revealed you were not certain. You did not want the Emperor's throne for your own sake, but would accept it if necessary. The wisest and most worthy leaders are those who do not seek the role. Zhe thinks that titles and power are what will save our people, but it will not. Devotion to our people, love for its welfare, is what will save us. And if that is your quest, Prince Yi, then the Blue Dragon Corps will support you as it is able. We can worry about naming emperors after Zhe is dealt with. As Tian walked back down to relay his orders to his soldiers and his followers, Yi felt a stirring in his heart. Perhaps it was pride or even satisfaction. Though his hair was whiter and his face more lined, the Blue Dragon was every bit the incomprehensible martial warrior that Yi remembered from his youth.